All right, welcome to Frightmare HQ. This is going to be a great show today, everybody. I'm so happy to see we've got a lot of people joining us. I want to go ahead and introduce to you my guest today, Barbara Crampton. Yay! It's Barbara
Hey,
Crampton, everybody.
hey
Woo!
guys, how are
Barbara's
you?
here.
We're
Woohoo!
good. It's so good to see you and have you on the show. You've been a
Oh,
guest a few times at Texas
yes,
Frightmare Weekend. It's always
I know.
amazing to see you there.
Yeah, thank you. The last time I was there, it was so crowded. There was
Wasn't it?
so many people. I couldn't believe it was a couple of
Lots of
years
people.
ago. And yeah, that was a really wonderful year and really fun and just so many fans came out. I mean, I think your convention is probably the biggest in our country anyway. I
Wow.
mean, I think more fans go there than anywhere else, right? It's
It's
pretty much a
insane.
destination. Yeah.
Well, the way we do it is we only do one a year, so everybody kind of plans for it and makes sure
Yeah.
they're there. Some of the others, I think they probably have more attendees than us in total, but some of them do 3 or 4 times a year. So,
Right.
but we're
Yeah.
once a year. We just like to make it a big, awesome celebration of horror. So,
Well, it certainly is.
well, thank you.
That it is. So, Barbara, you told us you're braving the fires out there, right? Near your home?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a year for everyone, with the coronavirus, and then we had the lockdown, and now we have fires in the Bay Area. And I was just telling you guys before we started the show that my husband and I were looking for a place we could drive to that was close to the Bay Area that we could get out of the smoke, and there really was nowhere to go. I can't go to Las Vegas, I can't go to Oregon, I can't go to LA because there's fires all around us. So we're
You're
just
just stuck.
hunkering down. We're just stuck here. But I ordered three. I have 3 floors at my house, so I ordered 3 HEPA air filters. I'm going to put on each floor, and they should be arriving today. So I can't wait for that because
Oh,
it's
that's
my
cool.
daughter has asthma and it's a little smoky here. So I'm constantly
Oh,
clearing my throat, and it's not good.
Yeah, that's terrible. And have you ever tried one of those? It's kind of weird that you bring that up. We just bought a
Uh,
Dyson, one of those
oh
big Dyson fans, and it has a filter in it
yeah.
too, and it tells
Oh,
you how
does
much it's. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's
oh
so it you don't
it
really
cleans
hear
the
it.
air.
It cleans the air, and it's a
Dyson's a good
fan.
company. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an
yeah.
amazing fan. I can't believe we're talking about a Dyson
I
fan on
know.
this show, but
Well, I've been wanting to get their hair
Why
dryer for
not?
the longest time. Their
yeah,
hair dryer is this ionic hair dryer, and it dries your hair really fast, and it's so quiet, but it's $500. So
that's the
I need
problem
somebody
with
to give me a
Dyson.
I wonder how
present.
fast it would.
Yeah.
I wonder how fast it dry my hair. Would it be quick?
Yeah.
Would it do my hair
Well,
quick?
Yeah. We have the vacuum cleaner, and my wife has the dryer, and we have this fan, and
oh,
I'll
yeah.
I always have to finance those.
You
I,
need a
I make sure to get them.
spokesperson for Dyson.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
make sure to get them on that 0% interest for 12 months or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
No,
ridiculous.
everybody. We're not sponsored by Dyson, all right? So everybody knows.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are
Well,
not sponsored by Dyson.
Hey Dyson, give
Maybe
us a
maybe
call.
they'll
I
send
mean,
me a free one for plugging it.
yeah, let's get
Yeah.
Barbara. That's our new
Dyson
hashtag.
hair
Get Barbara
dryer.
a Dyson.
Get Barbara
So
a Dyson.
so other
Dry the
than
hair.
other than COVID and
Yeah.
fires, and I mean, good lord, that's enough. You've got a lot
Everything.
going on.
And I
Um,
sent my son to school. He went to Colorado College. He's a freshman, and when everybody came in, they had to be checked for coronavirus, and the results came back fairly quickly. But within that 2-day period, one person tested positive, which means they came in with it. And the kids weren't being as safe as they were supposed to be within the first 2 days that they were there. So they
mhm.
just quarantined his whole dorm. So his whole dorm has to stay in for 2 weeks. He's now on his second week starting tomorrow. And all these freshmen
Oh
came in
wow.
with these guys, and girls, because he's in a co-ed dorm, and they all have roommates they've never met before. And so it's like they're just thrown in with somebody and they have to make the best of it for 2 weeks. And thank God my son and his roommate are getting along. And, I'm hopeful that once they get out of quarantine and they're careful and they all wear masks, that, they won't have too many outbreaks or maybe they won't have any. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because that's no fun.
So yeah,
Yeah,
something
so
similar
that,
happened to
yeah,
my nephew started. My nephew started second grade last week, and within a few days, they sent something out saying one of the kids had COVID. After like a few
yeah.
days, and I was like, "Really?" It's like that quick.
Yeah, well, a lot of these kids are asymptomatic too, and I do believe that the boy at the college was asymptomatic, but I mean, people just at school institutions, they're just not taking that chance, and they just want to make sure that they don't infect, an older person or a parent or someone in the community or the teachers. So, they're trying
Very
to
true.
they're trying to be as careful as possible while trying to open up schools. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get it figured out.
What have you been doing during the
Mm.
pandemic? I
Yeah.
think you mentioned that you've been working on a project.
Yeah, there's been a couple things I've been doing. I I had been in development on a movie called Jacob's Wife for about 4 years,
Oh
with
wow.
this company called AMP International with Bob Portal and James Norrie and Inderpal Singh, and they were working with me on it, but that we hadn't gotten the script quite up to snuff. And when we finally did, it was the last draft was written by Kathy Charles before Travis Stevens came in as a director, and he also did a pass on the material. Anyway, we we actually filmed this past February in Mississippi, and I think it was March 8th. I flew back to where I live in the Bay Area, and it was just within a week later or 12 days later that the lockdown happened in California. So we got that movie in right at the last moment. And we've been in post ever since. So we just locked our picture a couple of weeks ago, and we're working on the sound and the music and the grading and all that. And so I've been pretty busy with that, actually, on Zoom calls like we're all doing, and managing that. So that's been great, and has kept me sane. And I did do something with a few of your attendees from Texas Frightmare, Danielle Harris and um, Dee Wallace Stone and Scout Taylor Compton and Kane Hodder and myself. We were in a little project that we all shot at home on our iPhones, and then it was sent to Gabrielle Stone, Dee Wallace Stone's daughter. She was the director and the writer, and they put together this little short. We're all in this short together about we're all friends, and there's some killer that's out to get us, and Danielle Harris is the one who's really in trouble, and we're all worried about her. And it's super cute and should be out. I don't know what they're doing with it exactly, but it's pretty much almost done. I did that about a month ago or so.
Oh, that's cool.
So I did that. Yeah, so that's cool. And then I did something else recently that I can tell you guys about. Actually, it hasn't been announced at all yet, and I'm really excited about this. I did a movie called Alone with You, and it was written and directed by Emily Bennett and Justin Brooks from a company that Andrew Corkin and Theo James have. They recently had the movie on Shudder called The Beach House. Was it The Beach House or The Beach? I think it was Beach House. It's pretty
Sounds
kind of
right.
scary. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
I think it was the Beach House. Yeah.
yeah, and it's starring Emily Bennett and Emma Miles and Megan Lane and Dora Madison and myself. And Emma is was on Orange is the New Black, and Dora starred in VFW and Bliss. And the script is really cool, very kind of spooky and suspenseful and kind of ghost-like. And they sent me a GoPro camera in the mail, and I set it up myself. And I was the camera person and the makeup artist and the actor, and then I sent the GoPro back to them. So I did all my
Everything.
scenes. Yeah, I did all my scenes on my own. So I'm, trying to keep busy doing stuff, developing some other things. I've gotten into producing over the last couple of years, and I'm working on about 3 projects now, developing those and getting those ready to go for whenever we can.
That's awesome. So you kind of got your start. I mean, I think the earliest work you did was in soap operas, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was that the first? I guess that was the first job I ever had, was on Days of Our Lives. Just after I graduated college, I moved to Los Angeles, and it was actually my first audition.
Wow.
And I know, and I got the part, which was sort of crazy. After about five, I had to go back for like 5 rounds, and my character played opposite John Delancey. He's been in a lot of the Star Trek movie series, I think,
Yeah.
Star Trek series. And we had a nice screen test together. And I remember him coming out after the screen test and running after me and saying, Barbara, Barbara, wait, wait. And I turned around and he goes, you were great. You got the part. You're going to be in the show and blah, blah, blah. Congratulations. I was so excited. And I went home and I called my agent and I said, guess what? The actor talked to me after my audition and told me I had the part. And he was so excited and that I'm going to be working with him. And the agent said, well, I haven't gotten a call from any producers. You don't often get told you're getting the part from the actor. I wouldn't bet on that, Barbara. That's not how things work. And I was brand new to the business. So I said, oh my God, you're probably right. It was a month before we got the call that I actually had gotten the part. So
Oh, wow.
maybe that wasn't true, but anyway, so I was sitting on pins and needles for a month before getting that call. So yeah, that was my first foray into screen acting after being in college and studying theater and doing theater in New York, was doing that show.
How did you make the transition?
I've always heard that.
Into films, into especially horror films, and
Yeah.
what was that like?
Well, I would have to say, after being on a soap opera, I mean, you do kind of get pigeonholed whenever you do anything, right? Like
Right.
I do soaps, or I do movies, or I just do TV, and everybody's always like, I want to do other things. And it's hard to break out of the mold that the perception of the audience puts you in. I don't know. I mean, I think because after I did Days of Our Lives, I only did that for about 10 months, and my character was killed by the Salem slasher. So I don't think I was firmly
Ooh.
implanted in the soap opera world at
Yeah.
that moment. So soon after that, and I always forget which comes first. It was either Chopping Mall or Re-Animator, but it was soon after that, or maybe it was the Brian De Palma movie. No,
Body double, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
all
Body
kinda,
Double, right?
maybe it was that. It kind of all runs together, but it was around within the same year or so. So I did kind of branch out into doing film work pretty much right away. So I felt like it really came to me. I mean, I just auditioned, right? And it just happened. And then I felt like I could transition between those worlds pretty well for the next few years, which is what I did, because I wound up going back to a few soap operas. I did Guiding Light, I did Bold and the Beautiful, and The Young and the Restless I was on for 6 years. And in between that time, in the early part of my career, I did Re-Animator and From Beyond. And then later on, I did Castle Freak. And a little bit later on, I did Space Truckers with Stewart. So I felt like I was able to transition between those worlds pretty well. And potentially every once in a while, I think maybe this is true. I don't really know, but both genres, like soap operas and horror movies, can tend to be somewhat melodramatic, or thought to be melodramatic. They're kind of heightened, right? A lot of, really big emotions and big things happening. So maybe there's some consistency in being able to work within those two genres. I don't know.
And plus, you got killed by a slasher, so
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly right. You're so right. And I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. Yeah,
I've always.
Go ahead, Charles.
No, I was just going to ask about, I've always heard that filming soap operas can be a little more difficult because you're constantly having to film something new. So what's the difference between doing like a soap opera or doing like a film? Is it a lot more different? Is it quicker turnaround?
Well, with soap operas, there's a lot of material. You have to get through about 80 pages a day. And if your character's in a heavy storyline, that means you could have as much as 40 pages of dialogue per day. But the scripts for soap operas are much more widely spaced. And it is mostly just dialogue, but it's a lot of your turn, my turn dialogue. So it's not difficult dialogue unless you have a big speech. I remember one time I had a 10-page speech on The Young and the Restless. And, you usually get your scripts within about 2 weeks ahead of time. And it took me a long time to memorize that speech. I worked on it for hours and hours and hours. But normally, I feel like your memory is a muscle, just like anything else in your body. And the more you work it, the better you get. So when I was first on Days of Our Lives, those first couple of months, it was very difficult for me, really. I mean, I was forcing the information into my brain, and with little rehearsal, having to just get out there and do it. It was difficult, but as time went on and you get to know your character and you kind of get into the, the voice of the way the writers are writing your character, it became a lot easier for me. And I do feel like working for 12 years on 4 different soap operas over my career helped me develop the skill to be able to memorize dialogue quickly. And I don't think I've ever lost that. I'm pretty quick at being able to even memorize dialogue for scenes in movies now, and being able to work quickly and make decisions and choices quickly, which we have to do in independent cinema as well. Yeah.
Very true.
So I do have a question from one of our viewers. It's Blood Feast Island Man. His question is, with the negative stigma that horror films had in the 80s, did you ever have any hesitation towards the roles you were being offered, or were you always pretty enthusiastic towards the work?
Oh, I don't know. I think everybody who knows me would say I'm pretty enthusiastic about the work. I don't know. I never a negative stigma against horror movies. Who were those people? Not us, right? We're all horror fans, and I've been a horror fan for a long time. Although I feel like I grew into horror. I wasn't a horror fan from being very young. I think after I started working in them, I became a horror fan. But as far as the community at large and how people viewed them, we were always, the illegitimate cousin, or, we were sort of second in a way. But also, I don't know, it was work for me, and it was what I was offered. And, thank God I took those roles that I did in Re-Animator and From Beyond, because I feel like those movies gave me my career, really. And originally in Re-Animator, there was another gal who had the part of Meg, but her mother read the script and didn't really like the material and said, I don't want you to do the movie. So they had another casting call, and I was called in, and I read with Jeffrey and Bruce and got the part. But I never looked at it like, oh, I'm doing a horror movie. Oh, well, I want to be doing something else. I never felt like that, because I thought my parts were great, and I thought the material was wonderful. And my first experience on Re-Animator was amazing. I had a great time on that film, that first horror movie I did, and working with Stewart, and how, God rest his soul, we lost him recently, how wonderful he was. And he had a theater background, and I had a theater background, and so did Jeffrey and Bruce. And so I was having the time of my life. I thought I'd really made it when I did that movie. So I never had that feeling, but I guess people did have that feeling in the 80s. I think your question giver there is probably on track, but thank God I did those movies, because I feel like I have a career now that I can look back on and say that I've done some good projects.
Well, there was a stigma, especially in the 80s, especially with the generation before us, I guess you would say. And it's not so much that way now, I don't think. I think it's more accepted, because you see, like, Ozzy Osbourne is mainstream now, things that weren't acceptable then, but only to the young crowd, are mainstream now. So I think it's a much different atmosphere.
Kind of like metal and horror movies, and metal were very, you're coming after the devil, that kind of stuff in the 80s. So,
well, look at John Krasinski doing the movie A Quiet Place, and You know,
Amazing film.
yeah, isn't it? And all the fanfare that came out of that, and look at Jordan Peele now is doing Lovecraft. So, and you know, his movies are amazing and wonderful, and I feel like with more and more mainstream voices, they're picking up on the horror genre and really allowing us to have a larger platform at this time in history. So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions. Speaking of Re-Animator, about Re-Animator, of course, we knew this was gonna be the big topic today, right?
Yeah, it's a movie that wouldn't die. I kept getting reanimated. Yeah.
It kept getting reanimated. Not just a clever name.
Everybody is really curious about
Yeah.
working with Jeff and Bruce
Of
Abbott.
course.
They
Yeah.
want to know what it was like, and you know, do you still keep in touch with those guys?
Uh-huh.
And they really want to
Yes.
know that.
Oh, well, yes, I do. You know, I've had a close relationship with them on and off for 35 years, I'd say. And when one of Bruce's sons went to, I forget the name of the college. This is a college in San Francisco, Art School of San Francisco, or the Art Institute. I forget. Anyway, he would always come up and see his son, and I would go and have lunch with him all the time over the last, few years that his son was in school. And of course, we get together at conventions, and thankfully, you guys give us that opportunity to not only meet our fans, but also get together and have reunions with the people that we've worked with. So that's been wonderful. Bruce doesn't live in LA. He lives north of LA. So when I go to LA, I don't really get a chance to see him, but we talk on the phone every once in a while. And when I've gone to LA, I've seen Jeff a number of times, and Jeff and I do keep in touch. And I talk to him, fairly regularly. And actually we're working on a development for a series that he and I could star in. So I haven't said that out. I haven't said that out loud either. But
Re-Animator the series.
Well, it's not based on Re-Animator, but it's something else. But it is kind of a Lovecraftian thing. So we're working on that, and with a big team of people, and trying to get that off the ground. So we'll see. I loved working with those guys. I've said this before. I don't know if anybody remembers or has read this, but when I worked on that movie, I had a little crush on Bruce. He was so awesome and wonderful. He was married at the time to Linda Hamilton. Everything was on the up and up. But it's funny, when you work with a co-star that you really like, or sometimes you don't like them and you have to make it work. It was easy to make it work with Bruce because he's just charming and lovely and so open, and really a very good actor, and just, played the straight man in that movie, right? And that's Jeffrey did an amazing job, and Jeffrey makes the movie. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I will say that unabashedly. There's also something about Bruce and his evenness and his humanity that came through, and I think it's hard to play the everyman and to play the straight man. And I think he did that wonderfully. And I loved we had a crush on him and loved working opposite him. And Jeffrey was Jeffrey. I mean, he was just wild, and Jeff has always been and will always be extremely inventive, and he is a risk taker in all of his roles. He really makes a mark. He's just really fascinating to watch because you don't know how he's going to deliver a line or what's going to come out of his mouth. So he's a really exciting performer to work with. And you worked with him on 4 different things, 3 films, and then part of that anthology, Pulse Pounders, The Evil Clergyman, which is available on YouTube if people haven't seen that, which, that was quite a nice project for us to do together. And I had 3 different relationships on 3 different movies with him. And I feel like Jeff and I really understand how to work together, and I love him. He's amazing. Can't say enough great things about him as a person and as a performer.
But Bruce is a hunk.
Yeah, you and Jeff have Bruce is a hunk.
Bruce is a hunk,
You-
isn't he?
Yeah, isn't he? Okay, let's say it. He is, right? He's
Bruce the hunk.
Yeah.
You and Jeff though have such great chemistry working together. I mean, every movie you guys did, it's just so fascinating to watch you two because it seems like you play off each other so well. One of my favorites, of course, is Castle Freak.
Mm-hmm.
Castle Freak is such an amazing film. Tell me a little bit about filming that because that was filmed in Italy, right?
Yes, there's a town halfway between Rome and Florence called Giove, Giove. And if anybody wants to look it up, Giove, Italy, there's this castle there, and that's in the center of town. Charlie Band owned that castle. I think he sold it recently, but he owned it. He bought it, I don't know, 1980 something, late 80s, for how much? $500,000. There was no plumbing, no running water, nothing. It was just, big old cavernous castle. And he put plumbing in it and fixed up some of the bathrooms and modernized the kitchen a little bit. And then he hired some people to live there as caretakers. And the husband of the family is actually in Castle Freak. He's one of the Carbonieris, the policeman that says, I asked for water, aqua per favore, and he goes, aqua, okay. Anyway, so he's got a little thing in the movie. But Charlie bought that castle because his father had made a lot of low-budget spaghetti westerns in Italy himself, Albert Band, and he grew up in Italy and he had a fondness for it, so he bought a property there and made a few movies. Dolls was made there, and maybe Subspecies was made there, and I'm not sure what else. And then he used it as a vacation home. There was a pond on the property that you could swim at and a game room. And, it was really a really beautiful place. So we lived there while we were filming the movie. Yeah, we all had, I don't remember if the crew did. I don't think the crew did, but it was just the actors and Stuart. And I think that was about it, really. Yeah, just us. So what was that like? I mean, it was, we were filming during the OJ chase down the street with the big white Bronco. I remember there was one bar in the town. This town was so small. There was just one bar and like one store and a few residences and the castle. And in breaks in filming, we were all running over to the bar because it was on television, however long that took. So I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, while we were making the movie, that was happening. And, look, we were there making a monster movie, basically, with Jonathan Fuller pulling off that extreme makeup and John Gulich putting it on him.
Yeah.
And, that took 5 hours every day. That was practical applied makeup. And that was, a wonderful performance by Jonathan Fuller, really just tremendous as the Freak. And working with Stuart and Jeffrey, that was my third movie with them. And yeah, I feel like, we kind of came full circle, starting off as being adversaries, and then, in Re-Animator, and then in From Beyond, we were a little bit closer. And then in Castle Freak, we played a married couple. And by then, it's just so easy to work with him. Just so easy. And, just talking about how we work together, Stuart came from the theater. Jeffrey really came from the theater as well. And there's a bigness about the way Stuart directs his movies. And there's also a bigness, I said the word melodramatic, but maybe it's more that it's operatic in a sense that, Stuart's movies feel like a big opera in a way. And Jeffrey was a perfect performer for a lot of the ways that Stuart and Dennis Paoli wrote the scripts. And, I just had to match what Jeffrey was doing with his bigness. And I think we did that fairly well together. So, I think there was a definite style with those films and working under Stuart.
Had you heard of Lovecraft before you started working on these, the Lovecraft films?
No.
So you were kind of introduced to that.
Yeah, I grew up and I had read a few of the Stephen King books, and at the time, I was reading a lot of Dean Koontz at the time for whatever reason. And then when I heard about H.P. Lovecraft, I didn't know who that was. Jeffrey tells the story. He says when he first heard of Lovecraft, he was like, "What's that? A boat?" The Lovecraft. So he didn't know either. We didn't know. So then Stuart introduced us to the stories and said, read these stories. And I think when they originally did Re-Animator with Brian Usna, I think they were thinking it was going to be a series at the beginning. They thought they might do a TV series, and then it was really at the last minute that they decided to write a feature, because the Re-Animator was all lots of different stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could definitely do a Re-Animator series. That would be a lot of fun.
I think that's been talked about a few times, and Brian Usna has been trying to get that off the ground for a while. Why not? Ash versus Evil did really well. Why not do something on Re-Animator? It hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean it won't.
Right.
It'd be great to see. It'd be great to see everybody come back and do something new, Like you said, Ash vs. Evil Dead took off, so I think there's a lot of things you could do with that story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if the fans want it, I don't know. People talk about it. Maybe we'll get some energy behind it.
All right, guys. We got a petition for Re-Animator series, and we got a petition for Dyson. So we got two things.
Thank you. Any help will be appreciated.
So after Re-Animator, you kind of there was a lot more horror. Basically, let's just say it that way. Mm-hmm. Next up on the list looks like Chopping Mall. Which is a fun movie, super fun movie. Everybody loves Chopping Mall.
I know. I don't understand why. It's so cheesy. It's cheesy.
It's great, though.
It's great. People love that film. Oh my gosh. Some people tell me it's their favorite movie. I guess because it's so fun in its cheesiness, and it's very celebratory, and it doesn't try to be anything that it's not. It has a lot of heart and good humor in it, really. It's a loving movie. It's a loving ode to cheesy horror movies. Yeah.
It definitely is.
I always thought it was I always thought it was interesting it was filmed in the same mall from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
That was always interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the mall was fun. I think it was my first night shoot. When I got the part, they told me on the first day that I was working to show up to work at 6 p.m. That was my call time. And I thought, 6 p.m.? What does that mean? I'm showing up at 6 p.m. And when I got there, I realized that I was working all night, that I was going to be working till 6 in the morning. And I didn't know that. I'd never worked on a night shoot before. I was still early on in my career, and I didn't understand what that was. So I just went to sleep the night before at a normal time and woke up at 8 in the morning. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to work at 6, not realizing that I was going to have to work for 12 hours. I was exhausted that first day because I just didn't get it. I didn't understand that they have to shoot when the mall is shut down at night. So but that movie started off a lifelong friendship with Kelly Maroney. She and I are really, really good friends to this day. And, just working with all those kids in the film, it was like summer camp. It was really fun. We had a great time together. And Jim Wynorski is hilarious. I'm sure you guys all know him, and your listeners and watchers know him.
Oh, sure.
He's quite a character. As quite prolific filmmaker himself, and so I had a good time on that.
He is a character. We had him at Charles was at our 07 show. It was him and Kelly we brought in for Chopping Mall. I think it was it was 08.
2008.
Yeah, it was 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah.
They were fun. They were very fun.
He's a nut. That's what he is.
He's a nut.
He is. He's pretty out there, too. Yeah.
He's pretty out there. I was going to say, he's a little out there, but he's fun.
Texas,
he's totally fun.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Texas, when you say he's a nut, it's endearing. So
Yeah. He is.
Yeah.
No, I love the guy. I love the guy. My husband actually met him when my husband and I were first dating. I don't know why. I went over to his house for something. I'm not sure what we were doing over there. My husband met him, and my husband is in the financial business. He's a bond trader. So when he met me, he had never met anybody like me. And then I introduced him to all these characters, and that's what's kept him around so long, because we're so interesting and fun. And he met Jim Wynorski, and he fell in love with the guy. He's like, this is the greatest guy I've ever met in my life. So funny and so fun and such a character. Yeah.
yeah, my wife and my daughter picked Wynorski and Kelly up at the airport for us for that year, and they were Jim was really hungry, and so he wanted to go somewhere to eat before they went to the hotel, and they took him to. He said, I think he said, I want barbecue, because everybody comes to Texas and they want barbecue. So
it's the best.
They found a barbecue place, and they went in and they sat down, and they looked around for a little while, and Jim went, I don't like this place. Let's go somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Jim.
He was picky about his barbecue. Yeah.
I guess.
Did he get a better place?
Oh, yeah, they ended up taking him somewhere he felt more comfortable at, but
Yeah.
he just didn't like it. It was just, I guess he didn't like the atmosphere or something, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Oh, that's great.
Bless
I
his
never heard that
heart.
story. That's funny, Lloyd.
You haven't heard that?
No, but it wouldn't surprise me, because Jim was kind of out there. Like you said, I enjoyed talking to him, and it was always, the conversations would always go somewhere interesting. You don't want to know how they got there, but they definitely would.
Yeah.
Get there, yeah. So what about From Beyond?
Yeah.
Talk to us about From Beyond, because that's another one that everybody wants to talk about.
It's a great movie.
Thank you.
I mean, you had Ken Foree in that film with you, which I think that was the only time he worked in y'all's circle, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. And what can I say about that? It was a nice role for me. It was a leading role, right? In an based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, which H.P. Lovecraft didn't write many women into his stories, so that was nice. And there's a lot of talk about Lovecraft and racism and things like that. And Stuart and Dennis always made sure that you have to expound on a Lovecraft story because there's not a lot of narrative there. It's really more atmospheric. So they were cognizant of always putting women into the stories that they created based on his works, and also, veering away from any racism or overt racism or anything, obviously, that was, in the story. So I think that's great. And I do want to say one thing about Jordan Peele's new show, Lovecraft Country, that he's turning H.P. Lovecraft's racism back on him by having it be pretty much an all-black cast, which is great. I think it's amazing. So use those works and turn them around, I think that Jordan Peele's sending an amazing message, to our community by doing that. And I appreciate it. And I feel like Stuart also did that with his works and along with Dennis and working on From Beyond, having a leading role in it, in a story based on H.P. Lovecraft is pretty incredible. It was a great role for me, probably one of my best roles of my career. The trajectory that character had to go through, being a repressed psychiatrist and then investigating this person who, Jeffrey Combs' character, who had, gone through this experience and had gone crazy because of it, and then sort of falling for him and, in a professional and an emotional way. And then being a character that, because her pineal gland is stimulated, also is able to open herself up to her own passions and things that have been repressed in her life. And, and then being the heroine that saves the day and then going mad. I mean, will I ever get a role like that again? really? I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
was an amazing role. And they nominated me for a Saturn Award for that in 1986, I think. And I believe it was either Linda Hamilton or Sigourney Weaver that won that year. And I was in the audience, and I just, to be in the company of those women and those movies at that time, which were very big movies, to be in that company was just something that wasn't happening in the horror genre really to that degree, given that type of role. I wasn't like a final girl, like running for her life. I had a
Yeah.
real part, with a lot of depth and a lot to portray in the space of one movie. It was really extraordinary role. Really, I'm grateful forever for playing Catherine McMichaels. Do any of your listeners have any questions about the movie, or is there anything I can answer particularly?
Well, there's a lot of questions. Not so much in particular about From Beyond, but Ali Tapa is asking, who is your favorite actor, actress of all time?
Meryl Streep, probably.
I was going to say, I bet that's
Oh,
difficult
great.
for you, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No.
You knew it. She was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom, Meryl Streep.
I do have to kind of Meryl Streep. I just want to commend back again on From Beyond, because your performance in From Beyond is so fantastic. From Beyond is always one of the movies I really point out to make sure people watch when they're getting into horror, because watching your character's transition is so fantastic. You start off as this reserved character, and then by the end, it's just so many layers. So very phenomenal role. And
Thank you.
From Beyond is one of my favorite horror films, but
thanks.
it's definitely so great to see your character in that. And you bring that to every role you do, though. I mean, it seems like you're always very much in touch with these characters, and I do appreciate that. And love watching these too, very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, when I work on a character, I do try to come up with a backstory and fill in wherever I can what's not on the page. I talk to the writer usually and the director, and, we come up with sort of a plan and, the emotional intelligence of the character and where they are and where they're going. And I like to emote. I'm definitely an emoter. I'm not subtle in my acting, and I like to fill up the space. Maybe that comes from my theater background as well. I was told early on to, force your intention on the other actor and fill up the space you inhabit. So I feel like I do that even in working with film, even though it's a smaller aperture. The energy is the same, whether you're working on stage or whether you're working in film, but the aperture through which it flows is smaller. So I have to open and close that depending, but the energy is still going to be there. And I always carried that thought with me for whatever character I'm playing. But I'm definitely I'm not subtle. I'm a bigger actor than some people, I would say.
Well, you worked pretty much
And it shows.
non-stop all the way up to around 2008. I mean, there was just, I'm looking at your IMDb list, and you did.
Was it 2008? I feel like things slowed down for me around 1999, 2000, because that's when I got married. I did a couple of things.
You did,
but
you're right.
I felt like things were slowing
few.
down. Things were slowing down for me, and that was around the time that I met my husband, 1998 or so. Maybe I met him, and he, I was in my late 30s at that point, and I wasn't getting as many calls for roles or auditions, and it was around that time when really women didn't have as many roles as are being offered to us now. And my husband got a job offer to move up to San Francisco. And I was a little fed up because I wasn't working. And I said, okay, I'll go. If you want to go up there, I'll follow you up there. So we got married and came up to San Francisco. And then I had 2 kids back to back. And I really didn't think about the work or auditioning or the movie business at all for a few years. Even though I had a couple of roles here and there, I wasn't concentrating on it. And I didn't know if I'd ever really come back in a big way. and it wasn't until I got the call out of the blue to do Your Next that things started to change.
I was going to
So,
ask you, do you think that was a
Yeah.
big catalyst?
oh my
Your
God,
Next?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, that definitely put me on the map again, and I'm always thankful to those guys who put that movie together. And
It's a
Simon
great
Barrett,
movie.
yeah, Simon Barrett, and
It is a great movie.
yeah, Keith Calder and Jessica Wu and Adam Wingard, of course, and all the people that were in that film. Amy Seimetz is directing movies now, and she's quite a prolific actress herself. And she was, working as an actor, but also doing her own stuff. And all those people were so creative. And so Ty West was in the movie, and AJ Bowen was in it. He's fantastic. But there was a lot of those people at that time when I came back with Your Next were doing so many multiple jobs. They were filmmakers, but they were acting in movies. They were directing them. They were photographing them. They were doing all the different jobs, and that was that was part of that mumblecore movement of this whole group of people that were working together at that time, and really that more nuanced acting, of more fluid style of just coming in and sort of being more subtle and just showing up in the moment, and it didn't feel as scripted, and it felt more realistic. I feel like that was one of the movies that really showcased that movement, and it was such a great experience, and it did so well when it finally went to the Toronto Film Festival that I went, oh wow, this is so fun. I want to get back into working on films again. So that definitely that film and its success was really what brought me back and allowed me to come back, because then people said, oh, Barbara Crampton, she's not dead. She's alive. She's still out there.
Yeah.
And, because
That's what.
I felt like people had forgotten about me.
That's what brought me to watch it.
What?
I said that's what brought me to watch Your West, because I saw that you were in it. I was like,
Oh.
Barbara's in it. I'm gonna go watch
thanks,
Your Next. I was
Yeah,
like,
thanks.
and it was a great movie.
Yeah. And Sharni Vincent is really wonderful in that movie, and she really carries it. And I often wondered why she's not working a lot more. I don't know.
I do
Just-
too. She was at
What the
our show
heck?
a couple of years ago, and we
Yeah.
actually stopped, and I think she came out to smoke a cigarette with us is what happened.
Mhm.
And oh my God, she is amazing. She is the sweetest, and she's
Yeah.
so
So talented.
talented. I mean,
What
it's-
happened?
She's
I mean,
very
she was the
talented.
star of that movie, and
I know, and we should see so much more of her.
You never know what happens.
you
We should,
Texas
yeah.
filmmakers or whoever is listening to this, I mean, you really should look her up and hire her. She's extraordinarily talented. She carried that whole film. She was amazing in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm one of her films that I'm also a fan
It's a
of
good film.
is Bait, the shark film.
Yeah.
And she was telling us a story of she's a ballet dancer also, and she said that they did a lot of song and dance sequences for that movie for the overseas, I think it was for the Asian market, because they really love song and dance.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, she had done the Step Up movies. That's what kind of put her on the map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she has a big background in dance. Yeah.
She does,
Uh-huh.
and I still have yet to see that version with the song and dance sequences, but I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. I haven't seen
Me
Bait
too.
myself, but I'll look that up too.
Yeah. So
And You're Next. I mean, Ty West was in that too, and Ty West is such a great director.
Yeah,
So I mean,
know.
I was lucky enough to. I hosted a screening with him a few years ago when he did The Sacrament. Such a nice guy, and it's so great to see everybody in that movie. Everybody's so great.
I know. Yeah, he's working in a lot of television right now. I haven't talked to him or seen him very much over the years, but every once in a while I look people up on IMDb just to see what they're doing. I don't think he's on any social media
See what they're
right
doing.
now. Yeah, and I see that he's working in a lot of television as a director, which is great because television is paying pretty well now. And so for a lot of these indie filmmakers, you're not making that much money on these movies that you pour your heart and soul into for a year or more.
Yeah.
And to get, one television episode is about the same same amount of payment for one movie you work on for a year.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I'm sure everybody's
that's
looking
true.
for content now. Now that, I mean, there's going to
Yeah.
be a deficit in content once things
Yeah.
get rolling again. It's
Yeah.
going to be kind of crazy.
Well, I also think that's one of the reasons that The Wretched did so well on the circuit recently at the drive-ins, because that movie, I saw that movie I was on the jury of a film festival, the Grimm Fest, a year and a half or so ago, a year ago, I think, and that was in the film festival. I thought it was a good movie. But it wasn't like, I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought it was good. Right. And then at the time that they were experimenting with putting these movies out in the drive-ins, that movie was plunked right in there and everybody flocked to see it. And it really played well at the drive-in and everybody loved it. And it did extraordinarily well. So I think they're, right now, even they want content for things. And I know the film festivals are looking for films and wanting to play stuff, but a lot of filmmakers are holding their movies because it's an online festival, and we're all trying. You guys are trying to make the best of things.
Oh yeah.
For how are we going to keep our presence, online to the public, and the public are interested in what you guys are doing and what I'm doing and what other people are doing. How do we keep ourselves out there and also promote the stuff that we had from way back when, or new stuff that we might have coming up, and how does that all work? I think the movies that did get made right before the lockdown are in a pretty good position to sell to some of the streamers right now, because they're looking for stuff, and they're playing a lot of my old stuff now because that's all they have. So I mean, I guess that's good, but it's everybody's sad because we all want to work, we want to get out there, we want to hug each other, we want to be together. Just
I know, right?
Well, I
miss everybody too, especially from the convention world,
Yeah, I know the conventions have been hit really hard. You guys and a lot of, I mean, how can we all be packed into rooms together right now? It's really difficult, and I'm very sorry for the fans and for you guys and for all of us that this is happening. We all just have to hang in there. It's going to be over soon.
It'll be over, and we'll get through it. That the most important thing is keeping everybody safe.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. So,
Very
everybody,
true.
As long as we're safe and healthy, then we'll come back another day.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, a movie that I want to talk about was made by a good friend and a Frightmare fan, Ted, and I never get his name right. Ted
Gagan.
I never get his name right,
Yeah.
and I've asked him several times, how do you pronounce your name? And he won't even tell me. He goes, well, however you want to announce it or pronounce it. But
a lot of people say Georgian. It looks like it should be Georgian, but it's actually Gagan.
It's just Gagan, okay.
Gagan, yeah.
I've known Ted for several years because he used to fly into our convention every year.
He's a fan of your convention. He loves your convention.
I know, and he's great. And I actually started working with him, a couple of years later when I found out that he was in the business and he did publicity and stuff. And
You're right.
So he did some of our press stuff. And this movie has a big following. It's called We Are Still Here. And it had Andrew Sensenig and you and Larry Fessenden. Lisa Marie was in it, who's been a guest at our show. And there's a lot of fans for this movie. And I like it. It's a good old. It's kind of an ode to Fulci type of film.
Directly. I mean, that's Ted talks about that as being his love letter to House by the Cemetery.
Yes, and it is. It
very much,
is. And so, and I'll have to find it. But if you want to talk about it for a second, I do have a question about this movie from one of the fans. So go ahead if you if you have anything to talk about.
Well, how I came to do that movie is because Ted Gagan was one of the publicists for Your Next. And we were dealing directly through email, and then we had a few phone conversations when the movie rolled out, and we just really hit it off on the phone and just started chatting regularly. And he sent, he's written a lot of scripts and he's gotten a few movies made, and he sent me the script for We Are Still Here. And he didn't tell me that he had me in mind for it. He said, "Oh, I wrote this script and I just want to see what you think of it, or if you have any notes or anything." So I read it and I immediately thought, I could see myself in the part of Anne, but I didn't know if he had the money to make it or was going to make it or what was up with it. He just sent me the script and asked for my opinion. So I didn't mention that to him. I just said, I think it's really, really good. And I love the characters and they're really well drawn out and interesting and deep and thoughtful. And yeah, I think it's really good. And he said, "Oh, okay, thanks." I really didn't even have any notes to give him. And then a couple of months later, he called me and he said, "Well, I think I might be able to get some money together to make this film. And I was wondering if you'd like to be in it." And I said, "Well, yeah, sure. If you get the money, I'd love to be in it." And he said, "Well, which part would you like to do? Because there's two good parts for two women." And I guess I could have played the Lisa Marie part, but it would have just been different. But I was immediately drawn to the Anne part. And I said, "Oh, I really love that part of Anne. If you want to consider me for playing that, that would be an honor to me if you get that going." And then another 2 months went by and he goes, "Okay, I have the money. We're going to make the movie and you need to be in New York in 3 weeks." And so that's how it happened. And that's how I was introduced to Travis Stevens, because he was the producer on the film. That was a dark sky picture. They financed it. Mm-hmm. And Travis and I met, and now it's come full circle because Travis is the one who directed Jacob's Wife, which we recently finished. And I had a wonderful time working on that movie, although it's a very sad movie for my character. And I had 2 small children at the time, but I hadn't really, outside of losing my parents, I haven't lost anyone so close to me in my family. So I interviewed 2 different women who had both lost their children in auto accidents. One was an interior designer friend of mine who lost her son in a motorcycle accident when he was only 20, and that was her only child. And then the other was a very close friend of mine, my friend Justine. Her sister died in an auto accident. So I interviewed my friend's mother, and I could even cry thinking about her. Oh my God. I sent them questions just by email about how they felt, and I asked very specific pointed questions, maybe 30 questions. And both ladies wrote back to me and just gave me a lot of information about what their life was like when it happened, and afterwards and moving forward, and how hard that was. And that they felt that when they had moments of lightness or joy, that they felt guilty about that. And that was one of the things that really struck me that I used a lot when I was working on the film, because she has some lighter moments, but I never felt good about having those. And I would read those letters from those women every morning before I went to the set, and it really helped me with my character. So, I owe it to those ladies and what they went through.
Well, that was the question, is from Todd Seeley. How hard was it to get into the headspace you needed in We Are Still Here? So
yeah, I think those ladies gave me everything. They really did. Those ladies did it for me. Without them, I would have been making it up. I used different tactics in my acting approach, and I've studied different disciplines. And so at different times I use different methods to get emotionally where I need to go. And sometimes it is pulling from somebody else and, seeing how that feels inside of me, and then, using that in the scene. Sometimes it's, making it up. And sometimes I just get myself in a sad, if you're doing a sad scene, I'll think of something sad that happened to me personally and then transfer it mentally onto what the scene is about. It's a lot of mental gymnastics that you're using with yourself. for me anyway, when I'm playing an emotional scene. But with what those ladies gave me, you know, it was just there. I mean, they gave it to me. I wouldn't have been able to do it without their help.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine putting myself in that position to feel that way. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's going to be hard. I mean,
you have to. I mean, I feel as a performer, I have to honor the material as much as possible. And I felt like, you know, I mean, the script was very well written, and Ted gave me, you know, a wonderful character, and the other characters were so great, and really you know, Lisa Marie and Larry Fessenden's character were really the opposite of my characters and Andrew's character, and so the juxtaposition of that was a nice, you know, was just a nice dichotomy. But just the material that Ted gave me and what those women gave me, it gave me everything, really. And you know, I thank Ted also for allowing me to play that part, because that was another thing that I feel like solidified my return to the genre, just being able to be in such a great movie like You're Next, and then also be in We're Still Here, which was also very, very well received, was just a nice entree for me coming back.
What do you prefer?
We have a lot of fans of that movie too.
Like that, where you can get, you know, sink your teeth into, or do you like a role like, let's say, Chopping Mall, where you just can have a good time with it?
I'm a pretty dramatic person, so I'd say I like the roles that I can really sink my teeth into. You know, I want a character that has an arc to it, that starts somewhere and goes somewhere else. I mean, I think that for me is what's you know, motivates me to keep working. That being said, I do enjoy those brief moments of comedy that I've been able to play in my career, and I haven't gotten able to play a lot of that stuff. But when I do, it's super fun and light and very enjoyable. So a movie like Chopping Mall, and, you know, Susie was just kind of, you know, Valley Girlish type, you know, silly person. I did enjoy that as well. But I like the deeper roles, I'll have to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you ever be interested in returning back to theater again?
You know, I'd been asked that through the years, and I could have done theater. I live in San Francisco, and, you know, there's so much theater here. But when I was raising my kids, it was really difficult for me to even consider that, because my husband works long hours at his job, and then for me to be at the theater all night, I couldn't really do that. I would love to do another theatrical production somewhere at some point. Yeah, I would totally be into that. I mean, my kids are older now, and I just sent my son off to college, as I said, and my daughter is now a senior in high school. So I think, you know, once she graduates and goes off to college, my husband and I will be free to kind of do whatever we want. So potentially that's a possibility, to do theater somewhere.
I've got a very, very serious question here. I think this will be the final.
Oh, okay.
This will be the final guest question.
Our final one.
Viewer question of the day.
Okay.
So get ready. This is serious. If Lloyd and Charles got into an oil wrestling match, which one do you think would win?
Oh, I don't
no.
That's, you can't ask me to choose that. That's not fair. Oh my God.
I love that question.
You do? How am I supposed to know that? I don't know.
I don't know.
What do you guys
should
think?
we
We'll have
show
to do
our
it live.
muscles? Maybe we show our muscles,
We'll have to-
Charles.
Yeah.
We'll have to
There's
do it
not
live.
really
Maybe
any
we'll do
there.
a live performance of that, Lloyd. We'll just do a live performance of it. We'll stream it live later,
Yeah.
okay? Of us oil wrestling. All right.
Okay.
Be an add-on to this episode. Yeah.
We'll fly you in, and you can be the judge
I'll be
or
the
the
judge,
referee
yeah.
or something.
The referee.
Like they do that at Fantastic
Oh,
Fest
well.
every year, right? They have the it's not really a wrestling match, it's a fight. It's like a fist fight they have with it's boxing, isn't it?
They
You
do
know,
something
Fantastic
crazy
Fest,
now. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They've kind of.
All right, Lloyd.
It was
We
funny.
gotta go. We gotta
because-
box each other, Lloyd.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because they do so many things at Fantastic Fest that are crazy, and I get people come in and
Yeah.
say, like, well, you know, down at Fantastic Fest, they took me out to the gun range and I got to shoot a fully automatic weapon. And I'm like,
wow.
that's not happening here. I'm sorry. But
Oh,
if you want to go and
We're
do
not-
that and
we're
rent a
not doing
taxi
that.
or something, go right ahead. But
Yes.
it's not happening at Frightmare Weekend.
We don't want that liability.
Yeah. I think
It's a
bowling's
family
a little
event.
safer. Yeah.
Yeah, we could bowl or something.
Yeah, we'll go bowling.
Well, I
Barbara,
wanted
thank you
to
so
just-
much, Barbara, for
Oh, it's been
joining
great
us.
talking to you guys.
yeah, I wanted to say thank you. And you've been a great guest. It's always a joy to see you. I do want to thank Dominic Mancini for making your appearance possible.
Yeah.
He
He's
is
awesome.
yeah, he's with
Isn't
full.
he's a good guy?
He's a great guy, and I've known Dominic
He's
since he
fantastic.
was just a fan. And
I know,
before
walking around before he started his own company,
Mhm.
Celebrity Promotions, and
Yeah,
yeah, he's I was one of his early clients. Anyway,
Sorry.
yeah,
thank
he's
you,
always so
Dominic.
nice.
Yeah.
He's always a great guy. I always love seeing Dom every year, and we have to say
really
thank you, like
cares
you
about
said,
his
to him as well.
clients.
So
Yeah,
he does.
He's
So
great.
that's why I wanted to mention him. He has a website, fullempirepromotions.com, and you can get autographs, video greetings, and one-on-one Zoom meetings with many other clients. So I just wanted to mention that briefly and say thank you to Dominic. And
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Lloyd and
You've
Charles,
always
thank
been. I
you.
mean, I grew up watching you as a kid, and it's always been a
Yeah.
pleasure to have you at the convention,
Thanks.
and a thrill. Actually, I would always see you. One of our viewers mentioned that you were one of the only ones that he was nervous to meet, and
Oh.
I feel like a lot of people are that way. Yeah, because you're just such an
yeah,
idol
I've heard that a
or
bunch.
icon, to us.
Oh, wow. Jeez, thank you guys. That means a lot to me. And I love the fans and I love coming to your convention. One of the best, if not the best convention I've ever been to. And just with fans that are just, really there and just celebrating. It just feels Frightmare Weekend seems like a big celebration. And I've always enjoyed coming and really appreciate everything you guys do.
Well, that's what it's all about. So thank you once again to you.
Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you.
All right. Thanks for having me on
Stay
your show.
safe.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hope to see you again soon.
Stay safe out there. All right.
All right,
All
you
right.
guys too. All right,
You will. Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Barbara.
Bye.
All right.
I love talking to Barbara.
Oh man, I gotta say she's someone that I was always nervous to meet. The first time when I first met Barbara. So, and it's just because there's certain people in the genre that we grew up with watching. They were in all of our favorite movies, and we love them so much. And it's it's just you did get a little nervous. You get that little butterfly thing in your stomach. So, what a
I mean, it's true. I mean, like you said, I grew up with her, and her performances are some of my favorites, and they're some of the things that made me love horror, especially From Beyond. It's like I was mentioning before. If somebody always says, what's one of your favorite performances, I'm like, well, you got to watch Barbara in From Beyond, because her transition in that character is so amazing to watch all the way through. It's all these different characters, all these different elements of that character, and it all works so well.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody that's joined us. We've had quite a few new viewers join us today, and I want to mention a couple of those that I don't recognize, and maybe you've watched us before, but I want to say thank you to Monster Movie Happy Hour, Christopher.
Thank you, Monster Movie Happy Hour.
Callie. Let's
Nice.
see who else
What's up, Christopher?
We've got all of our regulars: Todd Lewis, Todd Seeley, Charles Anderson is here, Travis Brown, Ingrid is here, Ingrid Hubert,
Richard Nettleton.
Richard. Thank you for asking
Meredith.
that question, Richard. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it's a great question, Richard. Me and Lloyd are gonna oil wrestle one day for you guys. All right, me and Lloyd are gonna oil wrestle. I'm getting ready. I'm stretching. We're gonna get out there. You get ready, Lloyd. I'm gonna get all slippery for you. All right, we're gonna make it happen.
Carlos Diaz. I think Carlos has joined us before, but he had a good question. I'm sorry I didn't get
Carlos
to it.
says, I think so.
Yeah, pirate. He said, "Tell us about the pirate movie that you did not get made that would have featured you." So I'm sorry I didn't get to that question.
That was a great question. Yeah, I wish we could have got to that, but yeah, great question though, Carlos. Maybe we'll get some more info later on about that.
Yeah, Robert Kowalowski, Annabelle Roman, I think is someone new that I haven't seen with us before. There's quite a few. So I just want to thank everybody that joined us today. You guys are awesome. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tonight we have another show.
Hope you guys did too.
Yeah, tell us about tonight's event.
And tonight's our weekly Twitch Prime watch party. So one of our favorite viewers, Mr. Stephen Burt, is joining us tonight, and he chose Killer Clowns to watch. It was Killer Clowns, right? Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I'm gonna send you the link, Stephen Burt, to join us, and so you'll have that in your Facebook probably as soon as the show is over, and then we'll jump on and we'll watch Killer Clowns. That's gonna be fun.
Killer Clowns, yep. And then, it's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time is when we start that. We do those usually every Saturday. We're not doing one next Saturday, though, but usually every Saturday we do those. Next Saturday for our Patreon people, we are hosting a live screening of The Thing at Cinemark and Grapevine. So if you're a Patreon, I think we've already got you signed up. I think we have a few seats left. So if you guys want to join, got to become a Patreon. You can join us live.
So I want to thank Richard Nettleton real quick. He just made a $5 super chat, and he said, "Tipping for awesomeness." Thank you, Richard. We appreciate it.
All right, Richard.
And,
love you, Richard.
If you still, we probably still have a few slots left on that Patreon screening, right, Charles?
Yeah, we still have a few left. So, so if you are currently a Patreon and you want to join us live next Saturday at 7:00, we are showing The Thing at the Cinemark in Grapevine. It's free to come. If you want to come and you're not currently a Patreon, you have to join our Patreon, which we have the link. Up, you can message us. All the info, Lloyd posted all the info on our Patreon about it. So I think we still have maybe 10 seats left. It's a very limited screening though, because of all the COVID restrictions. We do have the whole theater to ourselves, but it's very limited to the number of people we can bring. So
but it's gonna be fun. We're gonna stay socially distanced. We're all gonna wear our masks upon entering the building. You could take your mask off while you're eating and drinking in the auditorium and watching the movie, but it's going to be fun. So go to Frightmare HQ if you are interested in joining us. You can join up as a Patreon, and as long as we have seats left, you will get a seat. So and if you want to communicate with us, then beforehand, before subscribing, making sure you're going to get a seat, then just let us know. Reach out to us and we'll let you know. Stephen Burt donated $10 just now and said Barbara is great.
Oh, thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
Barbara's great. Yeah, thanks, Stephen.
And
other
Charles,
than that,
I think next week you and I should go live with a video game. I think we're ready to rock.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing that on Twitch.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go whenever. I'm ready to party.
I think should we announce what the game's gonna be?
What are we playing?
I think we're going to start with Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
We have Left 4 Dead. And
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have Left 4 Dead 2. We've also got some kind of vintage, what is it? What do you call it? Arcade-style games or old-school stuff, side-scroller, fighting action type games. So we might do those too.
Yeah. Yeah, they all fit into our genre here, so be fun.
Yep, it will be fun.
But other than that, I mean, that's kind of what we got today. It's great seeing Barbara. You can join us Wednesday for our weekly Year in Horror. We've done that every week for a long time now. We enjoy doing them every year. Next up is 1975, which already seems like a pretty good year. There's a lot of unknown fun movies in that year. So we've almost got that, I don't know, program to go. But hopefully we'll see everybody Wednesday at our Wednesday time, 7 o'clock. We like 7. That's when we do things.
That's when we do things.
7 o'clock.
And in the future, we may try to do a show like one of the celebrity interviews on a Friday night as well. So if we decide to change that up, we'll give everybody plenty of advance notice, I think.
Yeah, everybody plenty of advance notice. Yeah, starting September, we're actually going to be taking a break for like a week or so. So there'll be a time period in September where we're not live, but we'll announce that too.
Absolutely.
So
I think that's it, Charles. I think you're right. I think that is it. I think we're going to go ahead and sign out. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We had a really good time. Thank you to Barbara Crampton, and also thank you to Dominic Mancini with Full Empire. And I think it's, let me look at the website again. I want to mention that one more time. It's fullempirepromotions.com. You can get autographs, video greetings, and one-on-one Zoom meetings with lots of their clients. So go check that out now, and thank Dominic. Go show Dominic some love, and the cool thing about showing Dominic some love is you get love in return. Right, Charles?
yeah, Dom's a great guy. Well, Dom's a great guy. Dom's always been a fan. Like Barbara and I were saying, and Lloyd and I were saying, Dom used to come to the show before he was doing stuff. So Dom started his own business, and he's a really fantastic guy. He's repped a lot of great people. He repped Wilford Brimley, who passed away recently, and Danny Hicks, who passed away recently. So, yeah, he's got a lot of fun stuff on that Full Empire Promotions. And I'm always glad to promote and support because he's a great guy.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So I think that's the end of the stream. We will see you tonight at 7 p.m. In the meantime, be safe and be cool and be yourselves.
Oh, and